Now everybody wants to be an entrepreneur and they have it in the back of their heads. It's an invention or a new category or something sexy. Once we got into business, a lot of things become obvious. You're looking at competitors, you're getting suppliers, and you find out, oh, I can't find a supplier for this thing. The opportunities start presenting themselves as soon as you're open to them. And then once you get in the game, you'll find other things.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Spread the Positive podcast. I'm your host, Trent Denson. Got a super exciting show for y'all today. I got to say, the most prepared guest by far. It's not even close. We have Robert Vaughn with us today. Robert is the founder of a home decor brand and also Brand Launchpad, a boutique management consulting firm. Robert, welcome in, man. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Trent.
Man, this is really awesome, man. Really appreciate you coming in. You have an incredible story, and your resume is pretty stout. I'll put it mildly there. But yeah, typically I like to take it back to young Robert, early passions, just what you were into as a kid, whatever you want to share along those lines, and we'll kind of get into everything else. I know you have some notes here, but I kind of want to hear it from you.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm an entrepreneur, and so what I prepared for today is 13 optimistic notes from an entrepreneur. Yes. And the first note is actually the beginning of the story. But before that, maybe your listeners want to hear just, why listen to me? And so the majority of podcasts, business people are these people that work for these large, impressive companies, and they're incredible podcast guests. But if you're a small business owner or maybe even an employee, a lot of their lessons are not very relevant to you. Right. And so hopefully my optimistic notes are going to be relevant.
Absolutely. They are. They are.
Yeah.
They've already spoke to me just from going over them last night. So I can't wait. I can't wait to get into all of them.
So a little bit, maybe before I take it back, I could just say I've been an entrepreneur since I was 12 years old.
Nice.
I've worked at 6 startups. I've worked for 6 other smaller, medium-sized businesses. Oftentimes, I'm the founder or a founding employee. And so I really know what it's like to be at the beginning of a business. I know how to go through growing pains. I've exited 2 businesses. I've been an employee at a company that IPO'd.
Wow.
So there's all these, experiences that I've had. I'd like to share some of them.
Sure.
But you asked about the beginning. So
yeah, let's go. Take us back.
My note number 1 here has been from the beginning of my entrepreneurship journey, genuine interest has really driven me forward. And so, as long as I can remember, I was very interested in commerce. My wife says I love commerce.
I love that.
I was interested in making money. And so early on, I wanted baseball cards because I understood they had value. And so I'm like 11, 12 years old shopping on eBay. And then I realized, oh man, I can't not just buy on eBay, I can also sell on eBay. So I was a very young kid selling on eBay, selling on Amazon, selling on Craigslist.
11 years old?
Yeah, 11, 12 years old.
12, wow.
I had some problems because I didn't have a credit card. I didn't have a debit card. And so I would give my football coach, who was like 18 at the time, I'd give him cash. So then he would put it in his PayPal account and then I could buy things and
Dude,
vice versa.
Sick. That is so awesome.
I have a kind of a funny story. I was probably 13 years old selling things on Craigslist, just like things I could find around the house. I was like, oh man, I'm not using that anymore. I can turn it into $10. But when I would sell things, adults would show up to buy them and they would be like, I'm here for Robert Vaughn. It's like, yeah, that's me. And I'm 13. They're expecting somebody who's 40. And got to the point where my parents are like, no more of this. You can't have strangers coming around the house. So anyways.
Probably good parenting advice.
But that genuine curiosity, I've always been involved in startups, growing businesses, and then, my consulting firm. I just really love it.
Yeah, I can tell.
So one other thing, if we have time.
Of course.
I really like reading about business. I like listening to financial podcasts. So when I was 24, 25, I was really ratcheting up. I wanted to start a business. I was the first employee at someone else's business. We were growing really fast. I was trying to learn, felt like I had a skills gap. So I'm reading every day a business book, a chapter a day. And I want to do that for a year. About a month into that, I get invited to a bachelor party in Phoenix, Arizona. There's 25 people at the bachelor party.
Oh, man.
And I'm trying to keep my chapter a day, so I'm like hiding in the room reading my chapter, but everyone's out at the pool. So I figure, I'll go read out there at the pool, but everyone's drinking, having a good time, and I'm over there reading Lean Startup, and my friend's making fun of me. But
that's awesome.
Anyways,
Discipline, man.
My genuine curiosity has really helped.
Man, all right, I see we got all the time we need, man. So what's the Angel Bobblehead Night story?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So when I was finding stuff to sell on Craigslist, I grew up right next to Angel Stadium.
Okay.
And one of my friends had season tickets. Now, they were high up season tickets, but mom had already paid for them. So we would go. I was probably 11 or 12 years old. And I realized those bobbleheads, people would pay for them on eBay.
Nice.
So you had, I forget who, but whoever was the favorite player, they had bobblehead night like twice a year. So at bobblehead night, my goal was to get as many bobbleheads as I possibly could. Everyone got one. So I'd go around looking for people would leave them on counters or in the bathroom or something. I'd pick them up. And then if I didn't get a good haul, I found out I could like kind of stand by the exit. And as people are passing, I'd offer them $5 for their bobblehead because I knew I could sell it for $25 or $30 on eBay. That's awesome. And so I was hustling, man.
That's so good. That's amazing. Dude, I love that. Okay. Dude, that's so awesome. So and reading a chapter a day for a year, even at a bachelor party, the dedication, that's discipline. That's a whole nother little nugget of greatness in itself. But moving on, humble beginnings were a launchpad.
Yeah, absolutely. So you'll hear this from most entrepreneurs. At least they want to spin it that they didn't come from money. They didn't raise a lot of money. And I think there's something to that. So my family, we were not entrepreneurs. I didn't inherit a business, nothing like that. And, I actually worked as an employee 6 or 8 times before I started a business. But my first company, so humble beginnings as an entrepreneur, I signed up, I don't even know if you can call this a company, but I signed up as a dog walker on this app called Rover.
Yeah.
So I would go to work, and then on my lunch break or after work, I'd go in for $15. I'd walk a dog, which is at times a little degrading because I was making a lot more money at my job, but I was like, I just want to do something for myself. And so awesome. I'm going and picking up dog poop and walking the dog around. One thing I learned, and the reason I think that humble beginnings are a launchpad, I learned so much in that business. I had no idea, but it makes sense now. People love their dogs so much. So in terms of treating customers, you have maybe their most prized possession Absolutely. In your care. And so, I learned how to deal with customers when they were upset. There was an incident where there were 2 dog walkers. I did the lunch shift. Someone else did the evening. The other person left the gate open in the evening, and I had to deal with an angry customer and, things like that. But I just learned a lot from that. And so some people think, man, I didn't have the money to raise or whatever. I thought that was a great experience.
Totally.
And so then that's my most humble beginning. And from there, I took a step stool. I saved some money. A friend approached me, and he wanted to buy some rental properties and rent them out. And we lived in Santa Barbara, California, which, the median home there is like $1.5 million. We didn't have a down payment for that. So we had to go out to Bakersfield, 3 hours away, not as nice of an area. And even we had so little money that even in Bakersfield, we had to buy 2 properties in the hood. We were talking to the real estate agent. We want to be real estate guys. We want to be landlords. And he's like, okay, cool. How much money do you have? We told him, he said, no problem. You guys are going to be slumlords. And so
Man.
Just little steps. But we ended up doing that really successfully.
Nice.
And then that led me to my wife and I, now my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, started what I call my first real business. And even that started with very humble beginnings. It was meant to be a side project where we were trying to earn $50 a day so that we could go out to lunch more and maybe save some money to start what we thought was going to be our real business. And so my wife had an idea. We had about $1,000 between the two of us. I had a $250 Chromebook that couldn't even download Excel on it, And we had a 1-bedroom apartment and a garage down below. The garage was so small, it was built in the 1950s that a modern car won't fit in it, but it became our office, our warehouse. We had 10 pallet spaces in there, and we started buying things and selling them on Amazon. Wow. So the same thing I was doing when I was a kid became my first business.
Wow.
That business eventually We had 17 employees. We got into over 1,000 independently owned retailers, and we sold that business.
Wow. That's incredible. That's so awesome. Man, I'm just taking it in. That's so cool. And just the dedication, that's crazy. Congratulations. I mean, to do all that is really inspiring.
Yeah. And if you don't mind, I've got two notes on that. So one thing I learned, and there's actually data to support this, but the term is breathe your own oxygen. So for a bootstrap company that didn't raise money, you need to have positive cash flow and profits in order to stay in business. And so the term is breathe your own oxygen. Yes. The profits are your oxygen. If you learn that habit early, it's a lot easier. It's really hard to burn money for 5 years and then become profitable. And the data actually plays this out. So I saw a stat that bootstrap startups are 3 times more likely than venture-backed startups to survive the first 5 years, which doesn't sound likely at all. Because the venture guys have so much money, but the money can be a curse. So if you are in this position, you have humble beginnings, it could be a benefit for you.
Man, that hits home. That hits home a little. Man, yeah, absolutely. What was the stat again? So venture based or
bootstrapped are 3 times more likely to survive the first 5 years.
Wow.
Which, there's a lot of stats about the first 5 years as the window as a new business you need to survive.
Absolutely. That's unbelievable.
Hey, my name is Brian Nail, and I'm a mortgage loan officer with Premise Bank. I just want to say how much I truly enjoy being a part of the Spread the Positive Network. It's an incredible mission that brings so much positivity to our community. It's been a real pleasure to be involved. Now, when it comes to financing a home, there are a lot of options. And in a market like today's, having the guidance of a trusted local professional can make all the difference. Whether you're looking to purchase a new home, second home, an investment property, or explore refinancing options, I'd love the opportunity to earn your trust and help guide you through the process. If I can help you nail your mortgage, give me a call at 615-243-3976 or visit nailyourmortgage.com.
All right, so moving on. Note number 3, I'm only a first-timer for the first time. Talk to me.
Yeah. So most of the time when I do something for the first time, I'm really bad at it. And for a lot of people, I try and encourage other people to start businesses. I think it's a great thing to do. They're waiting for something to start. They're waiting for skills or money or something like that. And the good news is you get better as you go. So if you try something the first time and you're terrible at it, the second time you're a little better, the third time you're a little better, and you get to the point where you get in a bunch of reps, and you could be really good at it. And so there's things now that I would consider myself very experienced, maybe expert level at, that I was terrible at to start. And so I've got a couple examples. So when I was in college, I got a summer job. I was working for this wholesale distributor. They owned a manufacturing company in Taiwan and a wholesale distributor in Southern California. My job was to help them find a new accounting software. So they had their current accounting software was older than I was at the time. I was 20 years old. And so they said, we need something that can handle our supply chain internationally. And here, we're going to hire you on your summer break for 12 weeks to come in and find the new accounting software. And this was something I'd never done before. It was a little over my head. I was trying really hard. And so I would go and research. I would interview these companies. Again, I had the experience where they're like, hey, I'm looking for Robert Vaughn. That's me, 20-year-old kid. And then you have a 45-year-old guy coming in and pitching me his software. So anyways, wow. I'm presenting to the owner of the company and the vice president, his son, and I put together a spreadsheet printed out with all this data about the different companies and my suggestions. And I have the report in front of everyone. And they rip the report to shreds. They won't read the content of the report. They just rip the formatting to shreds. And they say, this is centered. It should be right aligned. This should be bolded, all this kind of stuff. And it went on for 5 or 10 minutes before we didn't even, in the meeting, we never got to talk about the content of my report and what's actually going on with the software. And it got to the point where I started crying. I couldn't believe it. And I had put a lot of work into it. And it was my best shot. But they were right. It wasn't very good. And
just as far as formatting,
the formatting was terrible. But 15 years later, let me tell you, the best thing that I ever do is build financial models where the content is incredible, the formatting is incredible, but I've had 15 years to go from there. Right. but I got ripped to shreds at a small company where the standards were really not that high. The same thing happened about a year later where I got hired at this digital marketing agency. I got hired to do, I wanted to do sales. I was still in college. I needed a part-time job. I was down to $50 in my bank account. And I was like, oh, I better get a job before I graduate. I'm going to run out of money here. And I want to do sales, but they say, if you want to do sales, I see that you've done accounting. I really hate doing accounting. You need to do the accounting, and whatever spare time you have, you can do the sales. And so I was like very excited. I wanted to get into sales. I said, oh, that's a great deal. So I had a boss that I really, really liked, and he saw something in me. He was trying to coach me, all this stuff. He helps me find the first lead, tells me what to say if they pick up, all that stuff. So I'm geared up. He's right there with me. The guy doesn't pick up, and we hadn't talked about what to do if he doesn't pick up. So I go to leave a voicemail, and I'm like, hey, yeah, this is Robert with the, and I don't stutter typically, and I'm just like, and I can't get words out. And eventually I'm like, okay, bye. And my boss looks at me and goes, you might want to work on that voicemail. So I was in that job for about 6 months. And then after that, I got hired at this larger company that had a big sales force and amazing sales training. And over that 2 years, I would make about 100 cold calls a day. We had about 100 sales reps. And we got to the point where my voicemail script, I would sit there and practice it 5 times. I put my headset on, pretend everyone thought I was on the phone, but I was just practicing dry runs. I got to the point where everyone thought I was the best cold caller in the company, the best voicemail leaver in the company. And so you just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And,
You're only a first timer for the first time.
Yeah. And then you get better. And then one thing is you'll pick up skills, but you also meet people who help you along the way. And
facts.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. What about the Jeff Bezos story?
Well, my wife and I, when we were in our 1-bedroom apartment, we started a pottery company. So we were selling ceramic pots on Amazon. And the thing about Amazon is you have to ship it to the customer. And so you ship it FedEx ground. So they're these big ceramic pots. They weigh like 15 pounds, but they're incredibly fragile. And we didn't think about the fragility of the product. We just put it in a box and shipped it to the customer. So our first sale, we were so excited to get our first sale. 2 days later, we get an email, and the thing is blown to smithereens, is what the customer said. Wow. I mean, it's just shards of ceramic in a box. So we go, okay, now we need to put some bubble wrap. So we put one layer of bubble wrap around it, ship it to the next customer, same thing happens. And we go through that process for like 6 months, and there was a moment, probably the closest we got to quitting is we couldn't get the packaging right. We were packing it ourselves. We still had full-time jobs, so we'd wake up at 6 a.m., get our 5 orders from the night before, pack them, take them to FedEx, and 3 of them would break. And we're sitting there trying to figure it out. And there's a thing that FedEx does called a drop test, where they put something on a table and then they just push it off to see if it'll survive. And that's what your product should be able to do. And we're in our garage dropping things, and they just keep breaking. And I just look at my girlfriend at the time, my now wife, and I was like, I don't want to be a warehouse manager. I don't want to be packing. I don't know how to do this. And we just kind of kept working at it. And we got to the point where our volume grew so we could get legit professional packaging. And we went from probably a damage rate somewhere around 30%, which is unviable, to we had the lowest in the industry, I know, because we had a lot of competitors who had like 8 or 9% damage, and we got our damage to less than 0.5%.
Wow. So
much that FedEx just certified all of our packages that if they ever broke, they admitted that they were their fault, and we would get a benefit. So, but the Jeff Bezos story is something similar. He tells a story about early Amazon days. They're packing on the floor. It's a book company. He's helping pack. They're all on the floor. Their knees are all sore because they're packing boxes so long. And he says to one of the guys, we should really get knee pads. And the guy goes, no, we need to get tables. And so we had kind of a similar thing where it's just, we need to get protective packaging.
We need tables. That's perfect. All right. Note number 4, others taught me almost everything.
Yeah. So when I was younger, I was a little bit hesitant to take people's advice. I kind of want to prove myself, things like that. But really early on, I found out, I don't know very much. And So I would start asking a lot of questions, and I'm a chatty guy. So a lot of people just like to, when they're talking with vendors or something, email them. I prefer to get on the phone and talk for 30 minutes, and they'll say something that I don't understand. And I'll just say, oh, I don't understand. Tell me more about that. What's that? And so I had this habit of kind of like, I don't know, taking all the information that people had from very early on. And so I ended up learning a lot about different departments and industries. When I worked at that digital marketing agency where I left the bad voicemail, my boss, who I really liked, had been in digital marketing for like 20 years, like from the beginning of digital marketing at the time. And he was an early person in affiliate marketing and all these different things. So he would say something I wouldn't know, and I'd like ask him questions, and it would be an hour later. He'd say, okay, I really need to work now. Thanks. Thanks, Rob. That's great. But I got a ton from him. And so I ended up learning a lot about digital marketing. I did the same thing. I worked for this company. I was the first employee at a startup, a consumer brand, a mattress company. And I had been in software sales going into it, but I wanted to transition to product management in a physical product. But product management's really tough to get into if you haven't been into it. And so I actually had to really follow up with this guy. He hired somebody else for the job. I kept following up with him. It didn't work out with that other guy. And so he said, why don't you come in for an interview? So I went in for an interview. I felt like it went well, but I don't know. And then he asked me to go to lunch with him like a week later. And I'm thinking, this has got to be good. And halfway through the lunch, I think it's going pretty well. He looks at me, he's a very serious guy, and he goes, you have no experience in the industry. And I'm thinking, oh no, he knows, you know, I'm not going to get the job.
Sure.
But then he says, we have another guy who's got a lot of experience, but he, I think, is going to be a B player in this job. And we think you're going to be an A player in this job, but you need to come in and learn. And so I took that seriously. I had an experience where like 4 weeks in, something happened. I was responsible for managing the suppliers. Something happens with the supplier. It's a mistake. There's a delay. We can't ship customers' orders. We're a really young company. The CEO tells me my expectation is perfection here. There's no room for mistakes. And I took that, whether that's possible or not, I took that seriously. And so I started learning every step of the supply chain. I started learning every component that went into our products. I started learning everything about the fulfillment process, the returns process, the customer process, everything. So what that meant is I just got on the phone with everybody and I talked for as long as they would take me. Wow. And so it got to the point where about 9 months later, we have a new supplier and he invites me to a golf tournament in North Carolina that they're hosting. And I was so excited. I love golf. He flies me out, picks me up from the airport, and he's mid-40s. And we had spoken on the phone probably 10 or 15 times, but he had clearly not checked my LinkedIn because he didn't know how young I was. And so
that's a common thread. Dude.
Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah.
We've been hanging out for like an hour. He takes me to a place called Ass Clown Brewery in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's a great place.
Nice.
And he says, we've each had a beer. We're sitting there having dinner, and he goes, you know, Robert, I'm having a great time with you, but how old are you? And I'm like, I'm 26. And he's like, dang, for a 26-year-old, you know a ton about the mattress industry. Wow. And I was like, okay, I've done it. Yeah. So anyways,
good work.
I've learned from a lot of different people there.
Ass Clown Brewery.
Yeah.
Shout out to Charlotte. I grew up in Asheville, so that's my heart.
One note that I have is when you're learning from others, and one of the reasons that I wanted to prepare for this and that might be valuable for small business owners is you hear a lot of people who are quote unquote experts who are saying the wrong thing. In my industry, I've worked a lot in e-commerce and consumer products. The biggest thing that was wrong in the last 15 years is just saying, hey, we're a exclusively digitally native direct consumer business. And famously, Nike has gotten into some trouble because they kind of shunned some of their retail. Yeah. And so you want to, when you're learning from other people, you know, I was hesitant when I was young, you get to take what you want, or you get to take what seems right, or you may leave something today and then in 5 years find out, oh, that's actually something I want to have. And so you take what you want and you leave what you don't when you're learning from other people.
That's good, man. That's really good. All right. Note number 5, rewards are for players.
Yeah.
Man.
So one of the reasons that I love entrepreneurship and people, I'm not the first person to say this, the rewards are incredible. And the reason everyone wants to have a business is because they know in successful businesses, the owner of the business is the wealthiest guy there. He has the most control. He has the most flexibility. Those rewards are real. One of the first times that I really noticed them is I was working for that mattress company, and we were one of those digitally native companies, so much to the point where our founder would say, we don't want to be in retail. We don't want wholesale. We just want to run Facebook and Instagram ads and convert people, and they'll be our customer for life. And we had really great products, so that was a great thing. We were really good at digital marketing. But we would occasionally get people who called in and say, hey, I want to carry your product in retail, or hey, I want to buy 20 mattresses for this thing. Can you give me a discount? And we didn't have a sales team, so I had come from sales. So they said, hey, Rob, will you take this phone call? And one of the first ones I got was this guy who wanted 20 mattresses for a vacation house. Great vacation house.
I would say so.
And, I talked to him for 10 minutes, told him about our product, told him I could give him a discount, and took his credit card like 10 minutes later. And out of nowhere, it's a big order, 20 mattresses. And I also built the financial models at the company. And so I knew how much money that meant to the owners. And I thought, man, this is something, it's not even our core business,
right? But
just the fact that we're in business, we get sweet deals like that. And that happened so that was one of the things where I was like, I have to get my business, because as an employee, you don't get those kind of like windfalls. And when we started our business, we did the same thing, digitally native, direct to consumer. And then we started getting these cool apparel companies who had retail stores who wanted to decorate their stores with our product.
Nice.
And we're like, oh, this is like the vacation home. And I thought, oh man, here we go. So anyways, so cool. When you're in the game, you get all these sorts of opportunities. So one of the coolest rewards is we lived in Santa Barbara. And so California is known for its wildfires, especially in the last, 20 years. And so we were, there was one in Ventura, it was about 45 minutes south. And the fire came up to Santa Barbara and just covered it in smoke. And I had allergies, and I was struggling to breathe, and I was coughing up blood. And I was like, okay, I go to the doctor. The doctor says, just get out of Santa Barbara, go as far as you can into clean air. And so I did that. And so I was working remotely for a few days, and the fire just wouldn't stop. I mean, it was going for like 40 miles or something.
Jeez. And that's terrifying. Golly.
Yeah. So I was essentially trying to work remotely for a week at the time as an employee. And our boss was really cool for the first couple of days. And then after that, he's like, hey guys, it's time to come back and get back to work. And I was still doing my job, but
sure.
I had this moment of like, someone else controls whether or not I live in smoke or whether I can get out of smoke. And that was a huge impetus to, okay, let's get control over your day. And so fast forward, we started our company as a side project, and a year and a half later, my wife and I take a 19-day road trip from Santa Barbara up to Vancouver and back, where we're working on the road, but we're living in different places for 2 or 3 days at a time.
That's awesome.
And that was one of the times where I'm like, that reward is for players in entrepreneurship.
That's fire. Bad timing. That's really awesome. Holy smokes, man.
Yeah.
Man, so, okay. And now there's a note here, living in New York City.
Yeah. So my wife and I have done 3 of those road trips, and 2 of them, we sold everything that we had, and we just got in the car and we left. So
dang, that's cool.
That's one of the reasons we want to start the company, is we wanted to live. I'd never lived in a city. I'd only lived in suburbs, and we had this plan for 6 months. We were going to live in a different city for a month at a time.
Wow.
And we were getting ready to do that. And then COVID happened.
Wow.
And nobody wants to be in the cities anymore. And we were like, well, so much for that plan. And a couple weeks later, I said, why don't we just do it? We'll just amend it. We'll do an 8-week instead of 6 months. And we'll drive, of course, because nobody wants to get on an airplane. And nobody wants to stay at a hotel. So we'll stay in an Airbnb. And we'll just live at different places for a week. And so we spent 5 weeks selling everything that we had on Craigslist.
Shout out to Craigslist. It's still going strong, isn't it?
It's still going strong, as far as I know. Yeah. And then we lived at different places. We didn't know where we were going to end up, but we knew we had actually bought a dog who was going to be born, and we knew we had to be settled by a certain time. One of our stops was New York City. I had never been there, and we ended up staying an extra week. So we were there for 2 weeks. And at the end of it, I was like, I don't want to leave. My wife said, I don't want to leave either. And so we ended up staying there. Both of our children were born in New York City. And so just having these, control, flexibility, it was an amazing thing. And that's the rewards that are for players.
So when did y'all officially start that business? So
it was February of 2018.
18, okay.
Yeah, and then we sold it in 2 pieces, one at the end of 21 and one at the end or in the middle of 22.
And it was still the product or direct to consumer type stuff.
It evolved. I've actually got a note on that. Do you want to wait, or should you want me to tell you? Okay,
we'll keep it moving. Note number 6: new opportunities are endless. Ooh, yeah, I like it.
So if you talk to people who don't have a business, but you have a business, so about 6 months after starting my first company, everyone said, I have this idea. All of a sudden, I'm sure you've been through this. Yeah. Now everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, and they have it in the back of their heads. And so I've always wanted to do this, or I have this cool invention. Most people think it's an invention or a new category or something sexy. Most successful entrepreneurs, it's probably more boring than that. But what you end up finding is they think they need an invention or to redefine a category because they think the opportunities aren't there. And they think the opportunities are limited and everyone's already done something. And what we found is my wife and I, when we were starting our company, said, we want to start a business because we don't want to be in the wildfire smoke, because we don't want to be stuck here. We do want to get the benefits of having a business. So we just asked ourselves what business to start. And my wife is actually the one who came up with it. She's so good at ideas.
That's awesome.
But as soon as we asked that question, we had a list of like 10 things that were all viable. And more than that, once we got into business, a lot of things become obvious. You're looking at competitors, you're getting suppliers, and you find out, oh, I can't find a supplier for this thing. Actually, California needs a great packaging company. We could start that. So anyways, the opportunities start presenting themselves as soon as you're open to them. And then once you get in the game, you'll find other things. And there's all these famous stories about companies that get in the game and then their core business becomes something different than what they thought. And that was our story as well. So we started our business. We thought it was going to be a side project. We wanted to earn $50 a day, so we'd go out to lunch more and eventually fund whatever is going to be our quote unquote real company. And so we were selling this plant pot. We bought it from a distributor. We didn't design it. We didn't manufacture it, nothing. And we were selling it on Amazon. And it was really great, but then it took off. And okay, now we actually need our own designs, and now we need our own manufacturing. And then it really quickly evolved into people like buying online, but they like buying in store more in that category because you're going to buy a physical plant at your nursery. Sure. You want to get the pot with it. And so we ended up becoming the biggest part of our business was wholesale distribution, but we didn't know that. And so it just kind of evolved over time. These opportunities presented themselves. Do you want to hear the famous examples people like?
Of course.
So we'll go back with Jeff Bezos and Amazon. His vision is, I want to sell things online.
Right.
And we'll start with books because they're the easiest to ship, but then we're going to sell everything online. Functionally, we're going to be Walmart online. Today, their operating income, 61% is from their software business, which was required to manage their retail business, but it's not what he started at all, and nobody would have seen that. And of that other 39%, a huge portion of it is actually their warehousing and fulfillment services. Mm-hmm. It's not even the retail business. So one of the largest companies in the world started for something and then just saw opportunities along the way.
Right. I mean, AWS is the majority, right?
It's 61% of their operating income.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's really insane. And Shopify. You have Shopify. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so this is a famous story. Shopify was a company that was selling snowboards online. Same thing. They weren't a software company. They were trying to build a website, and they were using other people's software to do it, and just going, man, it's really hard to build a website with other people's software, and it's really hard to manage the orders on the back end. And so the founder started coding in Ruby, and eventually found out, wow, we built something really good. And people would say, hey, guys, what software did you use to do your website? And they'd say, oh, we built it ourselves. And after a certain amount of people asked, they said, do you want to license it? And so they're now a $200 billion company selling software, but they were started selling snowboards.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Man. All right, note number 7: sell great products.
Yeah, it's really sad that we have to say this.
I'm reading it like.
Right. So I was in a fraternity in college, and
where'd you go to college?
UC Santa Barbara.
Okay.
So I joined a fraternity, and you get to pick a big brother who's going to be your mentor in the fraternity and in college. And guys knew that I was an enterprising young man.
I wonder how they put that together.
And so they said, there's one big brother for you, and his name is Munger. And you're going to love him. And so I did love him. And they said, one thing, he's like, his grandfather's like one of the richest men in the world. And I was like, what do you mean? And they said, his grandfather's Charlie Munger. And I said, who's that? Is Warren Buffett's business partner.
Oh my.
And also potentially considered in the top 10, maybe the GOAT of the wisest businessmen ever. Yeah.
Holy smokes.
And so
what?
I never got to meet him, but I did get to go on his yacht twice.
That's pretty sick.
But there's been Munger, my big bro, gave me a book that was his grandfather's sayings. And the 3 things that stood out is sell great products, work with people you like, work for people you respect. And sell great products was something like don't sell anything you wouldn't buy yourself. Anyways, I can tell you a couple stories of selling bad products and selling good products, and it's easier to sell good products. But my consulting business, I consulted with a company. Their products were not amazing. Like they had exaggerated marketing claims, they had poor quality controls, and kind of bad operations and bad support. And just kind of across the board, if you bought from them, it was a coin flip what you were going to get. You know. So they were successful because they were really good at online marketing. They were really good at conversion optimization. They were really good at promotional tactics, things like that. But they had this horrible experience with customers. So they would no one would buy from them a second time, which is really hard because it's really expensive to acquire the customer the first time. You really want them to buy 2 or 3 times from you, maybe more. People talk about you want to produce raving fans. They had raving haters online. They had a group of people that were following around trying to get the company shut down.
Wow.
And the team morale, it made everything so challenging to work through. And the team morale just sucked. And so that was my kind of starting with my worst experience of selling bad products. And I can contrast that with, I worked for a mattress company, and I was tasked, I was the product development manager. I was tasked with coming out with a bedding line. People buy the mattress, we want to sell them bedding as well. It's not our main thing. We're not going to try and differentiate. We're not going to run ads for the bedding. We're just going to be an upsell.
Strictly
yeah. And so I designed this pillow, and the pillow is potentially the most competitive category outside of like a t-shirt or something. Every company has a pillow. Target has a pillow. Walmart has a pillow. Everyone has 15 of them in their house, you know. And so I design a good pillow at a good price. I did that. I spent a bunch of time on it. The boss was like, we need a good marketing story. We need a good marketing hook. And I was like, we just can't get one. We're just going to make a good pillow at a good price, see what happens. And so it was an upsell. We were never able to run ads for it, but anyone who bought it came back and bought them for every bed in their house. I need those in my guest room. They would tell their friends about it. I had plenty of people, friends of mine, who would say, hey, can I get a discount on the mattress? I'd say, yeah, totally. You also want to get the pillow. Trust me. They'd get one pillow and they'd say, that's the only pillow. I now travel with this pillow. And so I know kind of both sides of the spectrum.
Man. That's incredible.
And so with that, you can't even run profitable ads on this pillow. But if anyone tries it, you start selling a bunch of pillows. And so sell great products. It's going to really work for you.
That's incredible.
One thing about that is there's this trend, I think the term was coined like 2 years ago, shitification. And it was coined specifically in these large tech platforms where Facebook, Netflix, Amazon, they're all getting worse over time. They started with these incredible products that were very inexpensive. They're now worse. They either took away features or made them harder to use, and they made it way more expensive. Things are getting worse. Everyone knows this. People are upset about it. It's also true in the consumer products world where things were better 15 years ago. The burger tasted better. The candy bar was bigger. Your t-shirt was nicer. And so instead of talking about kind of like the mechanics, there's a bunch of mechanics that have led to this. Sell great things and then keep selling them great over time.
Right.
So one of the things that goes into it is when you get into trouble in business, maybe your profits are down, your revenue's down, you can go really to two places for costs, or the two common places. You cut it out of the product or you cut it out of the service, the people who are either producing it or supporting it. And that's how things get worse. It is a death spiral. There's tons of famous examples of the product got worse and then it just gets worse and worse. People stop going. It's really hard in business to start with a great product and commit to keeping it great over time and keeping it at a fair price over time. But if you do that, there's tons of examples of it going well. One thing, we're talking to entrepreneurs here. People talk about opportunities. If it really is that everything's worse than it was before, which I believe, that means there's a ton of opportunities for entrepreneurs to step in and just make things better.
Right. Enshittification.
That
is so accurate. Just like across the board, like you said, pretty much everything. That's wild.
Yeah. One thing, we're in Middle Tennessee that's new here. I'm from Southern California. I love In-N-Out Burger.
Yes.
They have very famously refused to raise money, refused to sell, refused to expand quickly.
Yep.
And they always have a 30-minute wait time for a cheeseburger. People drive for a cheeseburger. They wait for a cheeseburger. And what do? They never have to run promotions. There's no rewards program. There's no app. There's no nothing. They sell a good product at a good price.
Right. Yeah, it's unbelievable. We just got one out here. It's been insane. It's just crazy, the demand for it. All right, note number 8, work with people you like and respect.
Yeah.
Amen.
So this is part 2 of Charlie Munger's quote. We've all worked with people we don't like, I think, if you've had a job for more than a couple of years. I think it's really terrible to have a business partner you don't like. It's really bad to have a boss you don't like because it feels like they, control you. I think, again, maybe go with the opposite and it'll be self-explanatory why to work with good people. But if you work with an incompetent buffoon who doesn't understand that he doesn't understand, and he really wants to, or she really wants to have their voice heard or have the final say, it's just really hard to be around for 40 hours a week. Alternatively, if you work with someone who has low character, they're manipulative, they're asking you to lie to vendors, they're telling you to spin something with a customer, they're telling you to make exaggerated marketing claims, it's really hard to just do that over time if you put anything into it. And so if you work with people you don't like, what you have to do is actually separate yourself.
Right. You
have to suck yourself out. You have to put up a wall, a barrier. What you really want, you spend a lot of your time in your career, you want to bring your whole self there. And so I think I would guess the number one thing is the people you be around. And you contrast the bad buffoon boss with a boss who understands what's going on. They understand when they don't know. They're trying to invest in you. They're trying to work with you. Maybe they still have high standards. Maybe they still want you in the office all the time. Like, it feels really good to be on that team. Right. And it feels really good to contribute, even though there's expectations of you.
Right.
I've been blessed. My business partner has been my wife since 2018. Awesome, and so we have a ton of trust, ton of respect. We like each other. We learn to work together. Our relationship has more than just work going on, which is really hard to balance, but it's really been incredible. And
can I ask? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
How do you do that? Sorry, that's a wild question. How do you do that?
Well, we met at work.
Okay.
So we worked together before we dated. Okay. And so that's probably a cheat code.
Yeah.
We've always just really got along.
Yeah.
My wife is really easy to get along with. Probably more so than I am.
Something about us. Guys.
It's really funny. We worked together before we started dating. We were working at that mattress company trying to, it might've been Design the Pillow, but we were trying to design a product, and she has this really soft voice, and over the phone, she would ask for things that were hard, but she would say it in this really nice way. And so one of our suppliers coined her the Velvet Hammer.
Nice.
And so I think the Velvet Hammer is very easy to get along with.
That's so true. That's so good.
But yeah, it's been great.
That's awesome.
One of the things about being a successful entrepreneur is just not giving up, just keep going. And there's tons of examples of when you should give up, but making it through that first 5 years is really a war of attrition. And so if you have someone you like who's in it with you, you can't quit on them. They're not going to quit on you. Makes it much easier to keep going until the next opportunity presents itself or until you figure it out or whatever.
Man, amen to that. Shoo. You're getting right in here. That's recently happened in a good way for us. So I totally agree with that. Yeah, that's so good. All right. Note number 9, I navigated tailwinds and headwinds.
Yeah. So it's not
good with the bad.
It's not a smooth sail.
No.
Being in entrepreneurship, I think people talk about headwinds and what, they want to say, I accomplished all these things. I overcame all these things. They maybe want to diminish the tailwinds, the times they were lucky. I have tons of examples of headwinds that I went into, tailwinds. Sometimes the tailwinds actually screw up your business and sometimes the headwinds will help it. So it's not super obvious.
Wow. Yeah.
So one of the biggest tailwind headwind moment is COVID. And we were in home decor e-commerce, which was just kind of the epicenter of what businesses exploded in a good way.
Right.
It didn't start that way. The first 6 weeks of COVID, everybody was getting laid off. They were worried about if they're going to have any money. So people just stopped spending money, and our orders, I remember a conversation with my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, where I was like, how do we just survive? And then, 3 weeks later, it's like, how do we fulfill all of this? It feels like we're going to be rich,
Yeah.
And so you have these kind of
6 weeks of crazy nothing, and then 3 weeks of just the floodgates open.
Our biggest day every day. Yeah.
Every day was the next biggest day?
Every day was the next biggest day. Yeah. We went from 50 orders a day to 250 orders a day, something like that. So, that's a tailwind, but it brought a ton of challenges with it. And because of that, you had this demand shock, then you had a supply shock where people couldn't get ocean containers. They couldn't get capacity overseas. China, where we manufactured, was also shut down at different points. So there were all these things going on, and you have to take the good with the bad and try and navigate it. There were some really hard things if you've been in consumer products or e-commerce, they happen to large companies like Target and Walmart, happen to small companies. So Facebook and Amazon changed how they did advertising several times over the last few years, made it a lot harder. We've had 2 really big ocean freight disruptions where an ocean freight container goes from $3,000 a container to $20,000. Things get shut down, they get delayed. There's all these things. FedEx ran out of capacity. You can't deliver products to your customer. So you take these headwinds and you try and navigate them. You take the tailwinds and you try and ride them. One of the things is I did not ride the tailwinds well, and a lot of companies didn't. So they ended up with way too much inventory, way too many employees, all this kind of stuff. They ran into cash constraints. And so, I think you have to play the game as it's on the field, and it's not like a theoretical thing. It's really happening.
Wow.
The last 6 years have been unusual from what I've heard. They're certainly not similar to the 6 years I had before, but headwinds, tailwinds.
Headwinds and tailwinds. You got a quote down here.
Yeah, I like this quote. I'm not like a big law of attraction guy or big, foo-foo, but Ralph Waldo Emerson says, once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. And so whenever I have a headwind, I think I'm going to get through that. Whenever I have a tailwind, I think, the universe is conspiring with me.
Wow.
And it's like the rewards are for players. When you're in business, some good things are going to happen to you.
That's right. Man, good stuff. Note number 10, businesses have agency.
Yeah. This was something that took me a long time to learn. I learned it when my wife was pregnant. So we were entrepreneurs together. We'd been married not that long. We wanted to have a kid. My wife's pregnant. She's having a tough pregnancy. I'm kind of freaked out about my son coming, and Whitney, her capacity for work has gone down quite a bit. So there's extra load on me, and we've been thinking a lot about the business and just like, how did we end up here? Because it kind of felt like a whirlwind. It was 2022, so we were coming like 2 years out of COVID, and all those headwinds and tailwinds had happened. So kind of sat down and started with, we started this business to make $50 a day on Amazon. And now we have 17 employees. We have 2 companies.
So crazy.
We're selling on all these different sales channels. We were invited to sell on Walmart. We were invited to sell at Home Depot, all these different things. We've got 1,000 independent retailers. The business is nothing like what we set out for, and we wouldn't have created this. And so we came to the conclusion that a business is a living entity.
Yeah.
And it's somewhat like a child. And we were probably geared for that because we were having a kid. And we thought our job is to control the business. It's to set the business up. It's to guide it along every step. And we felt like, well, our job is to set the vision and do our part and then a little bit let the business navigate.
Sure.
And so there were all these things where we, the whole time, thought we were building another business. I thought I was building a furniture company, and the pottery was the means to the furniture business.
Wow.
The pottery company just kept exploding. And so we had this furniture business that we built that we eventually had to neglect, which we thought was the main thing that we'd been kind of building towards for 3 years, because the business had other ideas.
Wow.
What I've gathered is you a little bit need to learn to listen as an entrepreneur. So there's times when you want to be strict and say, no, we need to ignore the thing that's right there in front of us because we have this long-term vision. And there's other times where you need to be water, follow the path of least resistance, let the business kind of cook. And the first time I saw this, I worked at that mattress company, and I was the first employee that was full-time in the mattress company. We all thought we're going to be a cool brand for mattresses. Mattresses are stodgy. They're kind of scammy. We're going to be this really cool brand for cool, hot people. And it turned out where we could get the best acquisition, the cheapest customer acquisition, was on Facebook and Instagram and with influencer ads. And we also did really well once we did this unique consumer financing where we'd get 0% interest for like 2 years, and we were out competing all of our competitors there. But because we found those things, what we found is we were not for cool, hot people. We were for people who really like to watch vloggers and reality TV. And because we had this financing, we were for people who couldn't afford the upfront cost of a mattress, but we could spread it out over 2 years for them. And so we thought we were going to be like for elite hot people, and we were actually for probably people who didn't leave their house a lot. They were watching daytime TV and couldn't afford a mattress. But we ended up being really successful, and the business we think the business found its way.
Right. Yeah. Keep going. So the DTC.
Yeah. So the next experience, my wife, she has this incredible insight into consumer brands. And before an influencer was a thing, my wife was an influencer on Pinterest.
Oh.
So she's really good at doing repetitive work quickly. So she got this job. She was also in finance like me. She was working at UC Santa Barbara. We didn't meet there, but we did meet in Santa Barbara. And she would get her work done in like an hour, but then she'd have 7 hours left in the day. And it was a big bureaucratic organization. They don't give you more work and they don't let you leave. So she started Pinteresting in her 7 hours, and she would make these Pinterest boards for herself just because she likes looking at pretty things. And her Pinterest boards started getting 1 million, 2 million, 3 million followers.
Wow.
But influencers didn't exist at the time. Nobody paid you for this. And she eventually got a real job, or what she calls a real job, where she wasn't sitting around all day. And she was like, oh, okay, I'm going to stop Pinteresting, lost the login. But anyways,
oh no.
She has always been really great at finding what looks great, what looks like a magazine, what looks, her friends wanted to dress her. Anyways, she worked at this large apparel company, fashion forward, and she was on the product development team with like 20 other people, mostly young women who liked the clothes and the shoes. And they're doing a shoe line. And the way they would do it is they would do like 10 or 15 colorways. And then they would have a big presentation at the end and say, we're going to keep that style. We're going to axe that style. We're going to keep these colors, axe these colors. And all the ladies who worked there would always vote for the stylish, trendy colors. And so they came up with a formula. They'd have 5 or 6 shoes. 3 or 4 of them were the trendy colors. 1 or 2 were white and gray. And without fail, every shoe, the trendy colors go on clearance. The white and gray ones are the ones that sell. And so the business has agency. You don't necessarily get to execute your vision totally, but as long as there's a good outcome, you want to let the business go.
Selling your child.
Yeah. So
air quotes, child.
One of the things that the business has agency is, I came in contact with this guy who said a business will tell you when it's ready to be sold. And I didn't know what he meant at the time, but we were kind of evaluating. So we went to sell our business, and the process was very cool. We had a lot of private equity companies or these conglomerates interview us to see, do I want to buy your business? And a lot of the conversations go like, hey, this company is kind of our child. It feels like it. It's been with us for a long time. It's all we've thought about for the last 3 or 4 years. Are you going to take care of it? Because if we sell it to you, we have no control.
Right.
And one of the guys said, almost everyone says that. And I thought we had this unique insight. And he said, think about us as you're sending your kid off to college. Your business was never yours. It was yours, but it kind of never yours.
Sure.
You're going through these different stages. At this stage, if the business can actually sell, it's probably beyond you. And he also said, we're going to take care of it. He didn't end up buying it, but he gave us an offer. But there's something about selling your child, and it really feels like I've never lost a child, but when we didn't have the business anymore, it felt like I was missing a limb for a little while. It was kind of weird.
Yeah. What was that like? Can you expand a little?
Sure. So for a long time, every day you wake up, you check your phone or your computer, and there's 10 things going on. And then we sold the business. There's a transition period where we're still responsible for 30 days or something like that to train the team and all that kind of stuff. And so you wake up, the business isn't yours. You have the money in your bank account. It's someone else's responsibility. You have an enormous amount of relief just having the monkey off your back, but your phone's still lighting up. And then it just kind of trickles away. And then my experience was there's just a cliff, and all of a sudden
just gone.
You never hear from it again. Wow. And you don't hear from the employees again.
Wild.
And all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
So it was really odd. There's good and bad things that go along with it. I think if you have a complex contract with a lot of money involved, both parties are not going to do their part on some things. So there's inherent stress and conflict in it. But then my son was actually born while we were accepting offers. So he was born, we accepted an offer the next week, and then we went through 30 days of due diligence and 30 days of transition. So I had a newborn in a very stressful time. And once I got through that 60-day period, my wife and I, we were living in New York City. We thought we were going to leave New York City. So we decided to, again, sell everything we had and go on a 3-month road trip through the Rockies. So we stayed in all these different places with a newborn. And so I don't know, because people talk about having a child, losing a parent, are these things that grow you up. So that year I lost my dad. I had my son 4 months later, and I sold my business. So it was a very crazy period. So the first 3 months I felt like, whoa, what did I just go through? And I was literally sitting in the mountains in the winter in the Rockies in like feet of snow with elk running around outside.
Dude.
And just going, what just happened and what's my life going to be? And I felt a bit lost, and I didn't know what was going to happen. One of the cards here is talking about the conclusion how I got here. But it was a very tough period.
You're here. You survived. You survived, man. That's really wild. Note number 11, American business runs on presentation, perception, and relationship.
Yeah.
Quality is the common thread.
This is a quote from my dad, actually.
Nice.
And so my dad was not an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. He worked at large companies, but someone had told him this quote. And so he told me this all the time. And I talk about learning from others and take what you want. And my dad had certain periods where he struggled in his career. And so I was very nervous to take things from him. And this is something that I took maybe 5 or 10 years after he said it to me, and he would say it to me all the time.
Sure.
And I found it to be very true. So just going through them, the first thing, presentation. Nobody wants to buy from a shop that looks bad. Nobody wants to buy from a person who's, dressed poorly or not groomed or whatever. And you can make up a lot of ground, a skills gap or a quality gap with your product if you just dress it up a little bit. And I'm not meaning like be dishonest, but a little bit of extra work in presentation can go a long way. I do try to present
still living that out for sure.
I have a couple kind of fun things, and I don't know if they're presentation, but it's a story I really like. So we had, I told you my wife's really good at coming up with things. So we had a ceramic pottery business, and every year she would come up with a new color, and without fail, the colors she came up with would the next year be the Pantone color of the year.
Dude.
And so it was, we were selling like at one point we were selling like the last 4 Pantone colors of the year, but we didn't even know about Pantone color of the year. We found out about it later, that was even a thing. And so my wife's just really good at spotting those things. And so we had this bright yellow plant pot, which I was thinking it was as bright as the yellow on your shirt. I was thinking, who's going to put this in their house? And my wife's like, just trust me.
We need a couple for in here.
This is very popular. So we had this, and I'm just thinking, and I'm looking at the sales data, and the yellow plant pot sells very little. It's our lowest selling SKU. But what we found out is when we put it in an ad, they clicked through higher, and they converted more. They didn't buy the yellow planter, but you click on the yellow and then you buy the white one or the black one. And the same thing in retail stores. We found out our retailers were looking for catchy displays. And so they loved that we had these Pantone colors, even though the customer is going to buy the white one. They're in these big garden centers and they go, wow, look at that wall of colorful pottery. Oh, let me take a white one. And so there's something about presentation that really, really helped there.
That's awesome.
The second thing is perception. This one takes the longest to learn. It's one thing you can't explain it. You know it if you know it, but I'm going to try to explain it. I met an ESPN anchor. So he anchored SportsCenter for a long time. And my uncle is a big University of Hawaii college football fan. They were playing UCLA. He invited me to the tailgate party. So we go and we're meeting all these fun people who traveled with the University of Hawaii or who went to the University of Hawaii. Now they live in LA. And one of the guys, we're all saying like what we do for a living. And one of the guys says, oh, I'm a sportscaster. And we're like, oh, would we know what you've done? And he's like, yeah, SportsCenter. And we're like, oh my God, that's you, you know? Right. And so we're talking about all these like, oh man, is so-and-so so cool? And you know, all this stuff.
Of course. Yeah.
And then my uncle says, what do you think is the key to your success? That's the top of your field. Thinks about it, goes a little longer. So he's not giving us like some sort of just off the cuff answer. And then he goes, my preparation. And we're thinking, what? And he said, we're hanging out with you in your living room talking sports. We're supposed to be just like a cool guy who's really relaxed. And we're interviewing, athletes and celebrities. We're supposed to be very conversational. He said, that is not something that comes natural to any of us. We are working really hard. You have a perception that this is just who we are.
Right.
We have something else going on. And so I thought, wow, customers have a perception of a business, but you can work really hard. You can prepare in the background. And then somebody has a perception that it comes easily to you. There's all sorts of examples of that, but you want your customers, when you're an entrepreneur, you want your customers to think you're buttoned up, you're friendly, all these things. And there's a bunch of things you can do behind the scenes to make sure that they think that.
That's so good.
The third thing here is relationships. And I already talked about working with people you like, but I can talk a little bit about the quality of relationships with your customers or your vendors. So I found out I was in software sales and then later doing these wholesale orders for a mattress company, wholesale orders for a pottery company, furniture company. There was this common thing when you sell something, someone's really excited. And then within a day or two, they get what I call an oh shit moment. Right. And they go, is what I bought going to be what I bought? And that happens when you sell software and you haven't scheduled the implementation call, or maybe it's 2 days after they thought it was going to be or something like that. When I was delivering pottery to retailers, their first order, our sales team knew we have an oh shit moment coming up and it's going to potentially be hot depending on the personality and we need to take care of it. And so, one pot out of 200 were damaged. One thing was missing. We sent too many of this one SKU, it was a day delayed, whatever. And so what I found is handling those oh shit moments, if you take them really seriously and you just tell somebody, we made an agreement. I promised to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to credit you if there was a problem, or this is what we agreed to. Here's what we're doing. People just calm down, and you never have oh shit moments twice is what I found.
Wow.
And so I had this experience that I just keep having. I've handled those so well that, or at least I think I have, that I've had 3 or 4 former bosses, once I've left, call me to ask me to become their business partner. I've had vendors call me to say, hey, after you left, we had a harder time with that company. Is there anything you can do? I've had customers call me after I leave businesses and say, hey, will you start this business for yourself so that I can buy from you? Because I want to buy from you.
Wow.
Because I really think it's because I handled the oh shit moments really well.
That's unbelievable. That again, just right to the gut. I mean, that's spot on. Note number 12, don't let anyone get in the way of your success. Your success is your responsibility.
Yeah. So this was something that was told. I worked at that mattress company. There were 4 gentlemen who owned it. They were experienced entrepreneurs. They had been in entrepreneurship for 20 years. They were really good at it. They had been through 5 or 6 successful businesses. We had a moment, it was really early on in me working there. So we were selling mattresses in a box. So you take a 10 or a 14-inch mattress, you have to compress it down to like 3/4 of an inch, fold it and roll it. So there's a machine that does that. And it's like a $400,000 machine. And there's only like at the time 6 or 10 in the world.
Wow.
And in order for any orders to go out, it has to go through that machine.
Dang.
The machine would break all the time because it was a fairly new machine. And there's only literally a couple mechanics in the world who know how to fix it. So in the machines, these 6 or 8 are breaking all over the world. So our contract manufacturer was also working with larger companies. We were a really small company doing 20 orders a day. Our competitors are doing 300 orders a day. So, and we're all getting manufactured in the same place. And when the machine is up and running, the big customers get their priority. Yeah. So it had been like 6 or 8 days of me hounding these guys and trying to get priority on the machine, trying to figure something out. And one of the guys, he wasn't my boss. He calls me into his office and he said, I've heard something about a mistake or about an issue. I don't know what's going on, and I'm not here to talk with you about the issue. He said, one thing that I know is you can't let anyone stand in the way of you being a success here. So if this is something that could make you a success or not at this company. If I were you, I would do whatever is in my power to don't let someone get in the way. And he said, if you need to drive down there, if you need to hire a mechanic, if you need to do whatever you need to do, if you need to ship those to someone else who has the machine so they can get compressed, go figure it out. And so essentially, I don't remember the exact solution that I had, but I was calling the guy 4 times a day, making sure that we were priority. I was going down to take him out to lunch. So I took it to heart, and we ended up getting our orders shipped, and we were now the priority instead of the large company. Don't let anyone get in the way of your success. So I've managed, 60 or 80 people, something like that. So I always tell them, and there's been a bunch of examples where that's the case in my businesses. The second part of this is, Ronnie Coleman is a bodybuilder. He says everyone wants to be a bodybuilder, but nobody wants to lift heavy ass weight. And so there's a different thing that was going around online where everyone wants to be a lion, but nobody wants to do lion shit. And it's a lion with bloody face on the meme. So there's things that come up as an entrepreneur where you just have to take ownership. Every company has bad employees that need to go, that are causing trouble or not doing their job. Firing people, I've found, is my least favorite thing, but it's the thing that I got to do. I don't let someone get in the way of my success. I have always had trouble when a supplier's not doing their job, or it's time to go to another supplier, moving on, ending contracts and enforcing contracts, but that's something you got to do. And my least favorite thing, or one of my least favorite things, is when a customer is upset. And sometimes it's we didn't do our part. Sometimes we did do our part. Something happened out of our control. Sometimes there's a customer trying to scam us, or they're trying to do fraud. Just handling those situations, you have to get in and do the dirty work. You cannot avoid those things. But if you do the hard things that other people shy away from, you're going to get a lot of opportunities.
Amen. I feel like this is like I feel like I was supposed to hear, like, this is weird. It's like directly to me and everybody else listening, but it's like step by step what we've been doing here lately. So really grateful for this. All right. Last but not least, note 13. I built my dream life through entrepreneurship. Vision plus constraints yield results. Ooh, that's a bar.
So when I say my dream life, I don't mean, I have a yacht or something like that, but I have a really incredible life right now. And entrepreneurship, I can thank entrepreneurship for that. So I'll start with a story that has nothing to do with business and then how it ties into business. So my wife and I, when we got married, we got engaged, we had our business, and it was really stressful at the time. We spent all of our time together because we worked together, we lived together. And so my wife didn't even know that I had time to shop for an engagement ring. It was a total surprise. We got engaged. It was really exciting. And then we were so wrapped up in our business that we didn't talk about the wedding for 2 or 3 months. And then my wife's like, we should talk about this. Yeah, totally. Let's talk about it. And like, let's just get married. Let's make it no fuss. We'll do like 4 months of planning. So we picked a date. We told our families, and my brother said, I'm in Europe during that time. And I said, oh, the only other time that's available is in 2 months. And I said, well, I want my brother to be there. We'll get married in 2 months. And so for anyone who's planned a wedding, it's a big event, and it's really hard to pull off in 2 months. Like, a lot of vendors aren't available, all that stuff. So I got this piece of advice that is just incredible. It said, or the person told me, this is a potentially stressful thing to plan, and you guys might get in some fights. So what you should do is each pick 3 non-negotiables, and then everything else, literally everything else, you go with the easiest thing. And so there's like 200 decisions or something, like when you plan a wedding. And so, okay, pick 3. And what we found is, I think we only both came up with 2. Like, there aren't, there aren't that many things that you actually care about when you're serious. And so we had 0 fights. Nothing was late. Nothing went wrong. Nothing was over budget. It was just like so easy. And a bunch of people said, this is the best wedding I've ever been to.
Wow.
And we're like, well, that's insane, right?
New business idea.
Yeah. So later I was like, oh, people said that's not common. So I looked it up. Couples report 8 to 20 significant fights during wedding planning, and 80% say that this is a significant strain on their relationship. And I'm thinking like, well, that's how our business feels. Oh. And so Whitney had said, why don't we do the same thing with our business? And so we came up with a list of our non-negotiables, and we actually found that our business wasn't serving us anymore. And that's what led us to sell it. Is we wanted control over our life, financial rewards, and then we also kind of wanted interesting work and different things. And the business had grown because it has a mind of its own. And it was to the point where it was no longer playing the role in our life that we wanted it to. And so we ended up selling it. And that led to a semi-sabbatical where we had some time off and part-time work. And then we did the same exercise to say, well, what do you want to do next in that period where I was lost?
There you go.
And the constraints of, well, I don't want to work 60 hours a week. I don't want to have some of the stresses that came along with that business or that type of business. And so the vision of, we want to have this life, the constraints of, we can't have it this way, that led me to my management consulting business, which has just been wonderful. I started that in the beginning of 2023, and it's been fantastic. I get to work with companies that are really interesting and do interesting work. It's financially rewarding. I'm actually helping a lot of companies.
Man. That's
awesome. Yeah, it's been wonderful.
That's so cool. And that is Brand Launchpad.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Sure. So my idea with Brand Launchpad is I actually started, this is a theme of mine, but a part-time consulting business back when I was walking dogs. And so I was building financial models, helping people price things, helping people find international suppliers, just little things. And I started getting clients, and then I got a bunch of referrals, and I was just always doing this in the background. And then when my business got intense, I had to turn down consulting work. So I went and thought about what are the things where I can really help, and what are the things I'm really interested in. So I found I'm very good at inflection points in businesses. So I work with startups all the way up to mid-sized companies at inflection points. And they typically go something like this. There's 4 common ones. We're starting a business, and there's all sorts of things that come up when you're starting a business. So what category do we go into? How do we design the product? How do we source the product? How do we take the product to market? How do we get it to the customers? All these different things, and I can fill in wherever you want. The next thing is we're going through an aggressive growth phase. Either we're already in it, or we want to go in it. So we want to expand our product category. We want to get into new sales channels, or we did that and now things are breaking. And it seems like the thing that's coming is upset customers, poor quality, and we want to get around that. Yeah. So the third inflection point is we already broke things. Things have been going poorly for 6 months or 3 years, and we need somebody to help us turn this around. We were profitable, we're not anymore. We were growing, we're not anymore. Customers were happy, they were repeat buying. We lost a bunch of subscriptions. And I can help identify what are the actual pain points and how do we solve them. And then the last one, which is, I think, the most stressful, but also the most fun, is just helping companies sell their business or helping companies acquire other businesses. So helping conglomerates or private equity companies look for targets or evaluate targets. Will this actually go in? How do we integrate them? So those 4 inflection points, I work across the board. So it can be strategy, just weekly, monthly calls. It could be, hey, literally come up with the plan that we're going to do and tell us how to execute it. It could be, hey, work as a member on our team part-time. Or it could be, I did this a couple of years ago. Why don't you come in and be the CEO for a short amount of time and turn this thing around? But I really, my first thing was I'm genuinely interested in all this thing. I really love this stuff. Right. It's very interesting to me. And I've been fortunate to work in all these industries, in all these departments. So I think I can really help.
That's so awesome, man. Robert, this has been amazing, man. One of my favorite shows ever. Done dang near 300 of these. So thank you so much. Thank you for the intentionality. All of this, man. It was so good. Spoke directly to me, and I know Steph recording back there. Shout out producer Steph back there. We've been in the trenches on a lot of things, a lot of growth things, a lot of headwinds, tailwinds, all the wins at the same time. So this really spoke to me, and I'm pretty confident that it really spoke to our listeners as well. But really appreciate you, man. Looking forward to playing some golf with you as well. Oh, I'll ask you off, Mike. Sorry. Squirrel brain.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, man. If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so I'm sure you can link it. You can just email me.
Okay.
It's robert@brandlp.com.
Okay.
Or you could go to my website, brandlp.com.
Got you. We'll definitely have that in the show notes. But thank you again, man. This has been amazing. Looking forward to continuing conversations and maybe potential collaborations, anything that might come down the line. It's been a real honor to hear your story and get to know you. And man, it's so awesome what you've done. So congratulations. Shout out to your wife as well. The velvet hammer. That's so good. I feel like we got a couple of those around here too. So this is a really exciting time. Y'all know what to do. If y'all want to get involved with what we're doing here at Spread the Positive, please reach out to us, spreadthepositive.net. Reach out to me directly, Trent Denson, on LinkedIn or any of the socials. And we look forward to hearing from you. Be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, do all the things. And we will see you on the next one. Thank you so much.